All right, so it's no secret that most high handicap golfers struggle coming over the top in the downswing, and as a result, of course, they struggle with those weak shots or slices off to the right. Now, contrary to that, most low handicap golfers actually seem to struggle on the polar opposite end of the spectrum, and by that I mean they're not coming too far over the top on the downswing. Generally, they're coming too far under the plane on the downswing, and as a result, the club's traveling too far inside out, and they often feel what we refer to as being stuck. And that's really what's happening. The player's coming in, the club's coming too far under plane, they feel stuck, and as a result, their mishits are generally blocks way out to the right or overhooks left, and then they'll tend to kind of bottom out, hitting a couple shots fat, sometimes thin as well. So we'll get some inconsistencies in the strike as well. So a player that's stuck or struggling coming too far into the plane is generally hitting shots that look like this. All right. Now, what we'll do is we'll go take a look at that swing in more detail in slow motion. We'll also take a peek at the TrackMan data, and we'll get a better understanding of what exactly is happening in these stuck underplaying golf swings. All right, so first and foremost, we'll take a little closer look at what's happening on the video. And in order to do that, we're just going to draw a very simple plane line right up the angle of the shaft. And as I bring the swing back, we'll notice at this point, fundamentally, a pretty solid backswing. Top of the swing still, everything looks good. Face is pretty square, club's in a good spot, everything looks solid at this position. Now is when the trouble starts to occur. And at this point, we'll see in this downswing transition, that club is just falling too far to the inside, now well under plane. And because it's so far under plane, at this point, this club has no choice but to travel too far out to the right. Now, as we take a look at that on TrackMan, we can quantify it more directly, and we'll see that the path was exactly 12.2 degrees inside out. TrackMan does a pretty cool job of showing us and illustrating on video here with some graphic overlays, and you'll notice this white line being our target line. Of course, that blue line is actually depicting that club path. We can see just how far inside out that is. Now, when the player's dropping that club under plane so much, typically the lower body starts to come forward, we'll be losing our spine angle or coming out of posture, and then your hands are kind of in this reactionary state where we don't want to hit the ball on the heel or block it way right, so then we're in that process of kind of over-rotating the face, and as a result, we then get many hooks to the left, despite the fact that we are swinging way to the right. So we'll see that here as well. That club face was pointed well to the left of the path. So the face was actually 10 degrees close to the path on this particular shot for what it's worth. So then, you know, we had carry distance of 176. The ball ended up 51 feet left. It was obviously hooking. And unfortunately, the trajectory of that ball was really low. So that happens as well with people that are struggling with hooks, is even if you do hit a solid one, sometimes the landing angle is so low and the ball's coming into the ground or coming into the green so low that we can't hold the green and it's going to bounce and roll out. So PGA Tour average would be a good reference point here. The height on a 5-iron, which is what we're hitting in this example, on the PGA Tour is around 93 feet. So the apex of that trajectory, the highest point there, is around 93 feet. So again, not only are we struggling with the hooks and inconsistencies, but we also have a landing angle that's too low. So we'll hop back up and I'm going to show you mistakenly what a lot of players who are stuck do and how that doesn't necessarily help them. It almost kind of makes the problem worse. So now we'll hop back up, we'll take a peek at what most players who are stuck or swinging too far inside out tend to do to fix it, and we'll see how those tactics generally set them back and almost make the problem worse. So we'll take a peek at that now. All right, so again, for those of you that are stuck, you get on the golf course and you generally experience one of a few different scenarios. Let's just assume that you have water down the left side or out of bounds down the left side, and now you get up to hit your shot, you know you're stuck, you start to fear the left side of the golf course a little bit, and then what you'll do is you'll come into impact, you'll probably hang on to the face a little too long because you don't want that ball to go left, you're protecting or guarding, and now, okay, I just swung out to the right, I struck it solid, but I kept the face open, so now I missed the ball, I missed my target by 40 feet right. Now that might not be terrible, but I'm not appropriately fixing the problem. Another thing that you might do is, again, you're afraid of the left side of the golf course, so now you start to aim right because you don't want that ball to go left. Now I've shifted my path 21.5 degrees inside out to the right of the target line, so I've made it worse. And even though my ball started right, it still hooked way left, 45 feet left, ending probably in that hazard or out of bounds anyway. So again, the fear is causing me to swing away from the target line more, but it's making it harder and harder to actually hit a straight shot. And as you'll notice, that club path is moving so far to the right that it becomes very difficult to be consistent. On the PGA Tour, most of those guys are within a couple degrees of zero. Might be a few guys swinging 4, 5, 6 degrees inside out hitting draws. Might be a few guys swinging 4, 5, 6 degrees outside in hitting cuts. But no one's swinging 21.5 to the right. It just creates way too much inconsistency. So let's talk about what we really need to do to ultimately get the club back on plane and get you playing more consistently and understanding how to straighten those shots out properly. All right, so the way I like most better players to combat this inside-out stuck swing is to be able to ultimately get the club back on top of the plane in a creative and visual way. So what I want you to do is to go ahead and set up to the shot, and I actually want you to visualize a pull fade, which is the exact opposite of what you're actually hitting. So as you set up, you're going to set up parallel to your target line, aiming dead at your target. I then want you to draw your attention well to the left of the target. Let's just call it 40 yards. So you're now focusing 40 yards left of the target, and in the back of your mind, I want you to program what feels like an open club face. So I want you feeling like you're creating that open club face as you're trying to start that ball 40 yards left. So I want to, again, produce this high pull fade back to the target. It's a great way to get the club back on top of the plane and to improve so many other elements of the swing as well without even knowing you're doing it. So it'll look like this. I'm going to set up, get comfortable. I'm going to look way to the left of my target line, 40, 50 yards or more. I'm going to do my very best to start the ball over there. And in the back of my mind, I'm just going to keep the club face a little bit more open. All right, now you'll notice I shifted that club path 9.2 degrees to the left. I hit a much, much higher shot, but more importantly, I got the club back on top of the plane. To be clear, let's go back, we'll take a look at the video, and we'll see how that shot, how my brain allowed me to dictate the plane of my downswing without being overly technical in this one example. All right, so as we take a look back at the slow motion video, we'll notice again our original swing that was too far inside out or stuck. We can see just how far under the plane it falls. Take the swing that we just made where we were just focused on producing a ball flight, and we'll notice how at the top of the downswing the club is transitioning so much better and so much more on top of the plane. So if I take these down, here I'm already getting stuck, whereas this swing here on the left, the appropriate swing, staying out on top of the plane, bringing the sweet spot right into the ball pretty easily. And then the other thing I want you to notice is the exit of the club. We'll see on the right here just how far out, high, and to the right this club is exiting. And this is not something I want to see in better players. It means that the hands are probably overworking and you might feel like you're flipping the club through impact. Now here on the left, we'll notice the exit of the club much lower under that left shoulder. And because of that, we'll also take note of a club face that is still far more square or open. You can see it right there. Whereas this club face here on the left is clearly flipped or turned kind of all the way over. So let's hop back up now and we'll talk about how we can take that same feel, neutralize it just a little bit so that we're not hitting necessarily a high pull fade, although it is a good go-to shot, and we'll figure out just how we can bring that into a straight shot that's bringing you right back down on top of the plane. All right, so now that we have that feel, that high pull fade that we know gets us more back on top of the plane, we want to play a quick little game with ourselves as we're out there on the driving range. And you want to see how many shots you can start left of the target that are not drawing at all, but that are starting to cut back. And as you do that, 1, 2, 3, 4 shots in a row, you can start to reduce the curve, so you basically just don't need to focus quite as much on the high pull fade. So before you know it, you pull that path from, let's just call it 9 to the left, and you hit another one. Now you're at 1.6 to the left. Now I've got this nice little ball flight that's just drifting just a little bit right, 10 feet right of the target, which is actually a very accurate shot with a 5-iron. And before you know it, I've got a much higher ball flight, a much higher trajectory. I can hold the greens much easier. But more importantly, the club is on top of the plane. I don't have to fear the left side of the golf course and let those out-of-bounds stakes or water dictate my ability to commit to my swing and make the swing I know I need to make, especially under pressure. Look, this is just one of the many ways we can work on getting the club back on top of the plane, fixing draws, fixing hooks. I'd encourage you to start with this one.